You have seen Nick and Ron and Gary and Ron take wild boars at the first ever Death by Bunjie meet and greet. And now is your chance to see Bunjie and Genevieve and I go out and get our shot. I was very nervous leading up to this first ever Death by Bunjie meet and greet. I thought it was a great idea. I was very excited about it, but it's the first time I've ever hosted anything where I brought people who have been following Death by Bunjie together in a meet and greet style format. And I thought doing it as a hunt, especially in a semi-controlled environment like the Tioga Ranch where we were going to host this one, I thought that's a great way to do it, but I was nonetheless very stressed and I didn't get a lot of sleep in the hotel room the night before. I was stressed because I want to make sure everybody else has a good time. It's not just about me having a good time. It's not just about Genevieve having a good time and being safe and us being successful. But I'm a little nervous because I'm going to be shooting the crossbow and hunting, not just in front of Genevieve, but also in front of other people who I haven't ever met in person before. So you're kind of putting yourself out there a little bit. It was a little bit outside my comfort zone, but that's a good thing to do now and then. And I knew it was going to be a fun time. We started out that Saturday morning, Genevieve and I, we went to Dunkin' Donuts, of course, first off. Got to make sure you get the Dunkin' Donuts out of the way. For what it's worth, I have my iced coffee today, too. And then we did a quick live stream in the car, Genevieve running the camera because she's the one who's going to be filming this hunt, doing most of the filming while we're there. And we managed to drive through all of the thick, dense fog all the way up there to the hills of Tioga County, Pennsylvania, north central Pennsylvania, where this was going to take place. We got there. I finally got to meet Nick and Ron and Gary. Hadn't met these folks before in person, but I'd interacted with them a little bit here and there on YouTube, and it was great to meet them. Everybody was there to have a good time, and it really showed. Everybody was really cordial. We shook hands. We talked a little bit. Gary teased me about the recent dry fire, the August 2019 dry fire in our live stream. It was exactly the kind of camaraderie I was hoping for. While we were checking in, I got a chance to check out some of the awesome taxidermy at this place. If there's anything that gets me more excited when I go hunting than taxidermy, I'm not sure what it is. You know, maybe the food, but seeing really nice, well done taxidermy really gets me excited. After we got all the paperwork out of the way, Ron and Gary and Nick went to one side of the preserve, and it's actually the side of the preserve where Genevieve and I had hunted in the past. You might remember a couple of previous videos where we went wild boar hunting there at the Tioga Ranch, and they were going to be set up on the side of the ranch where that had taken place. So I was pretty familiar with that. Ron and I, however, were taken to the other side of the road. We went up the road a little bit. They took us out, crossed this big field and into a big section of woods where we were hunting, and I had never been there before. So that was pretty exciting. It was a new look at the Tioga Ranch for me. While we were walking out in there, Genevieve spotted a whole bunch of turfed up ground. And I asked our guide, is that where the boars are working the ground? And sure enough, that's what he said it was. It wasn't long walking across that big field before we saw the culprit. A big old management hog was wandering around there by himself. And I don't even know that he knew initially that we were there. Eventually, it was kind of like a standoff. We really didn't want to go through him. We had to go around him a little bit because I don't want to get these things excited. When you're on ground level, eye to eye with those animals, you don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they can do a little bit of damage if you're not careful. Eventually we broke off. Ron went with his guide to one section of the woods, and I went to another section of the woods with our guide and Genevieve. And on the way in there, we had a chance to see a whole bunch of fallow deer, and you got a chance to see what a beautiful section of woods we were headed toward. You start to realize the size of this place. Now, I know we're hunting behind a fence, and I've said before that's not for everyone. I totally understand that. But the size of this fenced-in area, really the amount of walking that we did to get to it, And the amount of changes in elevation, that sort of thing, reminded me of where I was hunting back home. I mean, this property, just this fenced-in area alone seemed to be, and I didn't see all of the fence, that's for sure, but it did seem to be every bit as large as the amount of acreage that I'm hunting on back home. We got all set up in a really nice box blind looking out in every direction. There's no sign of any fences anywhere, no sign of other people anywhere, just like hunting at home. Before our guide left, I asked him just to make sure that it was okay to shoot whatever came in front of us. Can I shoot any of the boars that come in front of us? He said, sure, that's okay, but there is a bison in here. There is a buffalo in here. Don't shoot that. And okay, I get that, you know. Genevieve and I are sitting in the blind, just enjoying these woods while they come alive. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing. It wasn't long before an entire herd of fallow deer made their way through. I had a chance to see them as they're going through, and they're just sort of making their way around the property. They weren't coming real close to the blind, but they were a little bit off in the distance. These fallow deer make their way through. Genevieve's filming them. She's telling me what she's seeing and all that sort of thing. And I'm seeing them off in the distance, and I leaned forward to get a better look at them and all that sort of thing, and my chair squeaked.
Oh. Not like that.
Sound.
Yeah.
Live and learn. So we just settled in to wait for some boars to come our way and enjoy the woods, enjoy nature while it's waking up all around us.
Out for a walk in the woods one day. Try to forget the modern way. Tree stand, Bunjie in hand. Enjoy a world free of man and think God for this planet and the chance to enjoy it in its natural state. Contemplate. Knee deep in the creek today.
One of the lessons I wanted to tell Genevieve here, one of the things I told her was, this is one of my favorite parts of hunting. We're watching the woods come to life all around us. And waiting, that anticipation, that's one of my favorite parts of hunting. An hour or so later, we see some movement off in the distance. Now, it's far enough away I can't quite see what it is. It's straight out in front of us. And I can see that movement off in the distance coming through the trees. Can't make out what it is. This is another one of my favorite parts of hunting, and I'm trying to tell Genevieve how precious that is, to see stuff moving through the trees. That's what really gets your heart rate up. And as they're coming through, I can see that there's some boars coming our way. It is a sow along with a whole bunch of her little piglets and two male boars, what appear to be male boars, coming toward us, eventually veering off a little bit to our left, making their way toward a road that sort of ran in front of the blind, out to about 40 yards. That's as far as I would want to take a shot, but there's a little bit of trees in the way and I don't really get a clean shot. Not so sure I want to shoot the sow anyway, because there's all these little piglets, if you know what I mean. I don't think that's a great idea. But eventually they make their way around behind us. Now, they're not pressured. I don't think that he knew that we were in that blind. They were sort of making their way around and milling off of the distance on this little knoll. We're set up in this box blind up on a little knoll, and they're sort of off to our left down over the bank. Genevieve gets a little footage of them now and then, and she can tell that they're still there. And for 15-20 minutes, we're waiting for them to decide what they're going to do. Now, it wasn't long before we saw some movement off to our right. Genevieve spots this coming through the woods, and I'm looking out there trying to see what she's talking about. And then I see, wow, this is a monster, whatever it is. And sure enough, it's that bison moseying along through the woods, making his way toward us. And he comes within 30 yards of us, just scratching around on the dirt, looking for something to eat. Holy cow. That is amazing. He's coming right at us.
Shoot him, Dad.
As excited as Genevieve was, no, I'm not going to take a shot at that. After another hour or so of sitting there and just enjoying this beautiful spot we're in, listening to the birds and everything else, Eventually our guide comes back, drives up to us on a Ranger, and tells us that some of the others already have boars down. In fact, Ron, who we were hunting with on our side of the road, he already has a boar down. That's great news, but it kind of adds to the stress level, if you know what I mean. I'm the guy hosting this thing. I'm supposed to be able to perform and get the job done. And other people have already gotten the job done. At least one other hunter's already shot a boar. And now it's time for us to step up our game a little bit. The guide tells us that the boar that was killed by the other hunter was a little bit of a distance away. So we get in the Ranger, we move to the new spot, and then we get out of the Ranger and start walking. And we're walking to the far side of that fenced-in area to where those boars had been spotted. And we set up in this little blowdown. This is shades of 2015 when Genevieve and I had gone to the Tioga Ranch before, and we shot a wild boar. It was in March. That video is here on the YouTube channel. What a great experience that was. This blowdown, we set up behind that, sort of trying to get a view down this ridge, down into what is a swampy area at the bottom of that hill, the bottom of that valley. Now behind us, up the hill, is that large open field that we came in through. There's a section of woods up here behind me to the right. There's a section of woods up here behind me to the left. And all of the woods that we just came from, far off to our left. Now there's a lot of room for these boars to leave, and I'm just hoping, we're keeping our fingers crossed that they'll make their way up the hill toward us. Because of the blowdown, that was a really nice natural landscape feature that's gonna kind of keep them off 10, 20 yards out. So I'm hoping if they come all the way up there, if they're heading toward this section of woods over here, if they're heading toward that big open field, then we should be able to get a nice 20-yard shot. That's the plan. That's the hope anyway. Sure enough, before too long, I see the same sow and her piglets, along with 2 wild boars, making their way up this hill toward us. It's not very long before the sow and her piglets split off. They go back down the hill, and the 2 male boars, what I think are the 2 male boars, start heading up the hill toward us. I'm getting more excited than before and more stressed than before, because now I've got my daughter with me and I got to make sure I make a good shot if that shot presents itself. And I've got other people waiting for me back at the lodge, at least one guy who's already got his boar, and I need to make sure that I'm performing to make sure that I can live up to their high standards. I am crouched down with Bunjie laying across that log. I'm in this really uncomfortable position waiting for a shot, and he takes time to rub his back against a tree as they're making their way up through there. Eventually I get a quartering 2 shot, 20 yards. Bunjie and I, we're gonna take that shot.
I kill animals and eat their flesh. Because it did. Wild game is my favorite dish.
I felt so relieved after taking that shot. It looked like a good solid hit, although I didn't get a pass through. I'm assuming the arrow made contact with the shoulder blade on the opposite side. That's totally okay. I've got lots and lots and lots of penetration. I'm seeing blood as that boar is running off, as he's making his way up toward that other section of woods, making his way up the hill toward that big open field. I'm watching him bleed, and I am confident that he is going to die from that shot. So I set the crossbow down. I give Genevieve a big hug. I shake the guide's hand, thank him for setting us up on this and putting us in a good spot. And I go back and I'm talking to Genevieve about how this is her favorite way to hunt, from the ground, eye to eye with what you're hunting. And she really, really was excited about that. And I'm just so happy that this whole meet and greet is coming together. Why is my guide looking up the hill? I look back over and he's got binoculars. He's looking up the hill, looking up toward that open field and looking up toward the other section of woods. And shouldn't my boar already be on the ground? What's going on here? So all of a sudden I'm a little bit nervous again. My boar is not on the ground. And Genevieve's pointing up there. She's like, well, it's over there. And he's 100 yards from us already, almost silhouetted against that open field, making his way across the end of the woods that we're in to off to the right to the section of woods that we were in before. The other boar is still with him. And I can see my boars hurt bad, but I'm starting to realize I did not make contact with enough lungs or whatever vitals are necessary to get that boar down. I'm going to have to take a follow-up shot. We make our way through the woods and we're heading up following the guide. He's giving us the best path to follow for a shot. The boar is standing at the edge of the field under a really nice oak tree, just sitting there, just trying to recover. And He's hurt really bad, bleeding really bad. It's clear that I'm going to be able to get close enough to him to get that follow-up shot pretty soon. We've got to make our way up through the woods to do that. We finally get caught up there. Genevieve stays behind with the camera. The boar starts to make its way across that open field along with the other boar to go off to a far section of woods. And so we follow it out into the field. At first I set up, Genevieve behind me, I set up on this nice little log, this nice little stump, and try and get a shot off of that, but the boar won't stop. He just is kind of slowly walking, and I don't want to take a shot on him. I've already got one arrow in him. He's not going to go too far, but he's walking kind of slow, and he walks from the 20-yard line out to the 30-yard line, but he doesn't even stop to offer a shot. And for that reason, I don't take a follow-up shot. I'm going to have to get a little bit closer, let him go a little bit further. He makes his way out into the tall grass. Genevieve stays behind, and I go with the guide out into that tall grass to get that follow-up shot. Sure enough, he stops. Finally, he gives us that 20-yard follow-up shot. Bunjie and I, we're going to take that shot. Again. Down he goes. The guide makes a comment to me that I'm getting a real good group going. You know, I've got 2 arrows in this boar. Neither one of them passes through. I think the first arrow hit the shoulder blade on the far side, and the second arrow hit the bone of the leg or something like that. Did not get pass-throughs. The other boar, his friend, is still off in the distance keeping an eye on things, and that makes you kind of nervous. I mean, they're not really afraid of people. They're going to keep their distance, but they're kind of the king of the forest, if you know what I mean. They're a tough animal. The shots that I took prove that they are a tough animal. 2 shots on this boar, and he went probably 200 yards. That's a long ways for an animal with that much damage to go. And I don't think he died immediately after the second shot. I mean, he had a lot of steam left in him. 3 of our 5 hunters had to take 2 shots to get their wild boars on the ground. That's crazy. I mean, they are a tough animal. 2 of them were able to get the 1 shot, and we have this little competition going, 1 shot, 1 kill, whereas I'm in the double tap club, I guess is what we'll call it, right? I don't have a problem with that. I like taking 2 shots, right? It's like I'm getting my money's worth. My 2 previous boars that we've killed at that ranch, both of those, I got nice clean pass-throughs. Not a problem whatsoever. This guy right here, complete pass-through first shot. Now I'm really relieved. This is what the arrow looks like. Rage Broadhead looks good, nice and clean, everything else. And I was just talking to Derek here, probably won't reuse that, you know, I'll buy a new one and start over fresh. But this is the arrow I've talked about. This arrow's been through a bunch of deer, probably more than a dozen if I had to guess. And I was just telling our guide here, probably been through at least 1 animal right here at this place also. And we get our picture taken, we talk to everybody. Ron comes by, they've got the 4-wheeler with the trailer and Ron's boar on there. I get a chance to see his really nice Russian boar that he killed, talk to him. He congratulates me, and we're just having exactly the kind of time that I was hoping to have at the meet and greet. We made our way back to the lodge. We had a chance to follow up with everyone else. The guides did a fantastic job processing this meat. It shows you what a great operation that they have there. And I'm really appreciative to the folks at the Tioga Ranch for letting us do this. I'd been there before, had a great time. I was confident that they'd make this a great time, and they did. Everybody left there with exactly what they came for. A wild boar to take home and eat, fill the freezer with, and the chance to hang out and have a little bit of conversation about our hunting experiences. And another thing that's worth pointing out, I had 0 dry fires in either one of my shots. Well, that's our wild boar hunt from the first ever Death by Bunjie meet and greet. I hope you have enjoyed Meet and Greet Week with all of our hunting videos and the videos about our experiences there. I hope that you have enjoyed all of Crossbow Appreciation Month, and there's a lot more coming. Because in a week, I'll be sitting in Maryland in a tree stand. I'm hoping to have lots of videos for that. We're going to do live streams. Again, we'll be starting our virtual deer camp very soon to go through with all of that, have our live streams on a weekly basis so that we can talk and we can enjoy these things. And I'm open to ideas or suggestions about future meet and greets. I've had one suggestion already that we should do something at the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I'm happy to talk about that. I've got some ideas there that what we might be able to do. And I have been asked to do this again, and I will be talking more about that as time goes by. If you're interested, let me know. Thank you very much To those of you who have participated in this meet and greet, thank you so much. Ron, Gary, and Nick, thank you guys so much. It was fantastic meeting you, and I really appreciate that opportunity. I thank you so much for coming there and helping me because, like I said, I was really nervous about this, and you guys made it perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better crew of people to hang out with. So I really, truly appreciate that. Those of you who watched the meet and greet and have been participating in it as well, thank you, because I really appreciate your support. And until next time, all hail Bunjie.
Second state is number one in my book.
Yeah.
Boca Genevieve. Oh, that looks terrible. He's 100 miles away. You can't even see him.
Well, then let's move y'all back.
No, then the Boca's no good. I mean, that's so far away, it's not. It's almost like it's not even there. Oh, give me a better face than that.
Damn, stop!
So like this, blah, blah. How do you think? That looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. One thing I don't like is that my chain of red bokeh goes behind my head and stops. It needs to hang farther. Go over in that corner back behind me. All right. Go this way. Go this way. Go this way. This way.
Ow!
You just said.
That's stupid thing.
She stepped on a mousetrap. That's awesome. I didn't plan that. I didn't plan that. I'm just trying to see where you're at. Move to the.
You hit my toe on the knuckle.
Well, you should have stepped on. You gotta.
I forgot I was there.
You follow directions very well.